And then you had talked about how you had an opinion on the Ebola nurse.
Well, the only thing, I was at an event last week where we did talk about Ebola and some of the practical issues, and
Right.
I'm happy to just throw those out on the table. I found it extremely interesting.
Yeah.
Some of them I hadn't thought about, but what I heard was that an underlying, I guess, an undercurrent that hasn't been reported in cases where there is a person like this nurse in New Jersey or whatever, is law enforcement says, I don't know who you think you're going to send to arrest her because we're not doing it.
Right.
Right. Because they don't want to be in contact.
Right. I'm not going to go chase this lady down and grab her off her bike up in Maine or whatever it is, because I'm putting myself at risk. So you've got that whole undercurrent and nobody wants to touch them. Especially, I mean, law enforcement says we don't have the suits, we don't have the training protocols, we don't have any of the stuff that these specialized units have in the hospital. So it's kind of funny to say, there's one question, should they be able to quarantine? But the other one is, okay, if they do declare the quarantine, can they enforce it?
Right.
And that really gets into the issue, especially if you listen to some of the interviews that she's given and some of her comments.
Yeah.
Sometimes people inadvertently confuse what is a legal right and what is ethical or what they think it should be.
Right.
So law enforcement is going to enforce the law. Now, whether they agree with that or whether they then actually enforce it, that's one question. But if you listen to many of the arguments that she was making, this isn't what the law should be.
Right.
We should be doing this, not what the law actually is. So she was arguing for many, well, what the law is not ethical.
Right.
But that's a very different argument than saying whether we're going to enforce the law. And I think that those two questions sometimes get blurred. What's legal isn't always ethical, and what's ethical isn't always legal.
Right.
But regardless, they weren't going to go chase you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But then it's the pragmatic question of who wants to raise their hand to go and I'll go arrest them. You
Yeah.
know?
Right.